Mike Donovan, and I was asked to consider the question, am I on the brink of life? It's an apt question given today's gospel reading, the raising of Lazarus from the dead by Jesus. It is the story of Martha's great faith and belief in Jesus' words to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me will live, and everyone who believes in me will never die. Martha believes. She is on the brink of eternal life. It's actually a question I've thought a lot about in the last year since I turned 60 in October, one of those milestone birthdays. And I began thinking more about my mortality and taking stock of my spiritual and physical health. Most importantly, my spiritual well-being. On Sundays, I'm part of a small prayer group that meets before this Mass, and one of my faithful partners, Rosemary Armacida, has encouraged me for years to get a spiritual director, something I thought about for a long time but never acted upon. Well, 6 months ago, I signed up with a Jesuit seminarian who I meet with once a month for an hour, and I find this experience very helpful to staying focused on my goal of a better prayer life and a deepening relationship with God. I also had the opportunity to go on 3 retreats since October. The annual All Sheil Winter Retreat, led by Father Kevin and Mary Dealey, a weekend retreat led by Father John Parchi, and also my first ever silent retreat, led by our own Bill Conradi, to the Trappist Monastery in New Melleray, Iowa. They were all life-giving experiences. I had time to reflect on my life and listen to God. What does God want from me? What am I meant to do? For the silent retreat, we were encouraged to bring a spiritual book to read, so I took along a book by Sister Joan Chittister, Following the Path, The Search for a Life of Passion, Purpose, and Joy. The book is meant to give someone in the process of making a life decision at any age, in early adulthood, such as our college students here, at the point of middle-age change, and later in life, when we find ourselves at the crossroads. It's about the process of trying to find and follow your own special call at this new stage of life, all with the goal of deepening our relationship with God. Turning 60, it proved to be the perfect opportunity for me to re-examine the ministries I'm involved in, visiting youth at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center, advocating for kids in court who don't have parents to accompany them, mentoring young men released from jail or prison, supporting their efforts to stay out of trouble, and visiting young men in adult prisons throughout Illinois who are serving long sentences. As a result of my discernment, I realized that my prison road trips to visit young men who I've dubbed the Lost Boys of Chicago, guys I met when they were 14 to 16 years old at the Juvenile Detention Center, but who were tried as adults and were eventually sentenced to long prison terms. They were my special call, my passion, my purpose and joy. I needed to redouble my efforts in this area. These guys are separated from those they love, and they often become disconnected from family because almost all of the adult prisons in Illinois are hours from Chicago, and their families don't have the transportation or the financial resources to visit. They don't even have the money to accept their sons' collect phone calls. There are many kinds of death, but the one that probably most closely approximates the experience of Lazarus is the experience of being in prison. They are alone in the world, left for dead by society, left for dead by the legal system, and even left for dead sometimes by their families as they serve out their long sentences. In many cases, I'm their only visitor all year. And although in the past I've tried to visit the 10 guys that I do visit regularly 2 to 3 times a year, I'm committed this year to try to make 5 to 6 visits to each of these young men who I've come to know and love. It's during these visits that I feel closest to God. I can see God's face in these inmates. I can see their goodness. It's easy to see that they too are children of God. I always go home from these visits inspired by their patience, perseverance, strength, and courage. Despite the indignities and injustices they experience while incarcerated, I'm always amazed that they never give up on themselves. Despite being disconnected, estranged, and separated by distance from their families, given up for dead, they do not give up on their families, and even more amazingly, never give up on God. I always wonder whether my faith is as strong as theirs. They are believers like Martha. They are on the brink of life. What about me in the question of, am I on the brink of life? I know I'm not there yet, but I know I'm closer because of the example these young men set for me. A postscript about my physical well-being. They say 60 is the new 50, but it sure wasn't for me. 60 for me was an old 60, suffering from diabetes, neuropathy, gout, the after effects of 2 knee operations, arthritic hips, and sleep apnea, all a result of morbid obesity, my own doing, not taking care of my physical health and well-being. I've worked hard in the last year to remedy that, and my strongest motivation to lose the weight is my desire to be at the prison gates when my guy Arthur Sanchez is released. He was 15 when I met him. He's 23 now, and won't get out until he's 42. It dawned on me that I'd have to live till I was 79 to fulfill my dream, and I wasn't on a path that would get me there. And while God may take me tomorrow, I promise to do my part to live to see that day. In that respect, I feel like I'm on the brink of life again.